Hello, I will now call the Infrastructure and Community Investment Committee meeting to order. It's May 15th at 6:02 p.m. This meeting is being held in person and electronically in accordance with the Municipal Act. There are no public meetings or open delegations tonight, so we'll move right into the presentations by staff. There is one presentation this evening. The presentation concerns laying the foundation for tomorrow's infrastructure, 2051 infrastructure master plans. I will now call upon Tom Reeve, Senior Project Manager, wastewater, to approach the podium and provide the presentation.
Thank you. I'm joined today by Lynn He and Brett Matrix to talk to you about the master plans. These projects are significant in the long-term planning of the city. While we're in the early stages, we wanted to give a bit of introduction to help council understand what master plans are and why they're so important. Told this takes a couple clicks sometimes. Here we go. As we know, Barrie is growing, and that needs to continue. We have provincial direction to grow to 298,000 people by 2051. We need to enable building new homes and help create jobs in the City of Barrie to accommodate this growth. The official plan has recently been updated to reflect these ambitious goals and set a vision for the future of the city. As part of enabling that growth and avoiding growing pains is to have a solid plan for our core infrastructure, transportation, drinking water, wastewater, and drainage or stormwater. The infrastructure master plan helps us know what infrastructure we need, when we need it, and how much it's expected to cost. There's a lot that goes into creating a master plan, but it starts with considering the community vision. The official plan is a public statement that helps guide Barrie's growth according to the collective desires and common viewpoints that we share about the city's future. It tells us where we want to grow and how that growth will look. This is a fundamental foundation on what the master plans are based. Then we consider council priorities, stakeholder input, industry standards, and best practices to develop our infrastructure plans. Those plans identify projects and costs which serve as the basis for the growth portion of the city's capital plan. They are the principal input into how development charges are calculated, and they provide early tools needed to begin implementing projects. One key aspect of infrastructure master plans is the preparation of detailed growth forecasts. We know that we need to grow to 298,000 people and 150,000 jobs, but to plan infrastructure, we need to know where in the city this growth will occur. The city hired a consultant specializing in growth forecasting to develop geographically distributed projections. They consider the official plan, known planning applications, pre-consultation, and industry trends, as well as changes in the demographics of households in Barrie. The projections are then distributed over 1,300 zones across the city to represent greenfield and intensification growth to 2051. This map is a sample of the work that was completed and will be a key input into the engineering work of the master plans. The city has hired engineering consultants with expertise in infrastructure assessment, modeling, planning, and design. While the detailed work plan is much more granular, conceptually, the main steps are summarized here. First, understand the existing system. This is typically done through field data collection, developing computer models that mimic the infrastructure the city has and how it is performing today. This might include current traffic counts, measuring wastewater flows in our sewers, and mining water consumption data. Secondly, we determine the level of service we want to provide. In many cases, there are provincial regulations that govern our services. For example, there's water quality guidelines for the effluent of our wastewater treatment facility. But in other cases, we'll be recommending levels of service in consideration of community desire. For example, consideration of the council priority and community desire to support active transportation and pedestrian connections. Then the consultants will use the engineering models to assess the impact of population and growth across the city. This modeling will show the need for new or upgraded infrastructure. And then finally, we develop the location, the size, the scope, and the cost of the infrastructure required to meet our desired level of service. These projects are what make up the growth infrastructure required to meet the provincial growth targets. While the work is just getting underway, I thought it might make it more real to talk about some of the things to expect from these infrastructure master plans. With our water master plan, expect to see recommendations for additional water supply, either from adding capacity to surface water treatment plants or additional groundwater wells. In the last master plan, we found we had enough capacity to take us to 2041, but going to 2051, we anticipate needing more water supply. With a major project underway at the wastewater treatment facility to improve treatment efficiency, we know a lot of upgrades are happening there over the next 10 years. This master plan will help us know when we should plan to add additional capacity beyond that to take us to 2051. Because the current design is being done with the long term in mind, we consider we'll be well positioned to add additional capacity when we need it. With the transportation master plan, the system-wide analysis will show us how we can support growth to 2051 with investments in infrastructure that supports all travel modes with a specific focus on shifting a larger portion from single passenger car trips to more sustainable mode, as well as continuing the development of a transportation network that works better for all residents, regardless of income or access to an automobile. In 2019, the Drainage Master Plan took a major step forward for the city by outlining the drainage projects we need to reduce flooding and protect private property and the environment. This update will make those recommendations current again and help us continue to tackle them in the annual capital plan. Master plans take about 2 years to complete. And while a lot of the work is done in the background by our expert consultants, the master plans also include engagement with stakeholders in the community at large. This will take the form of online outreach and interaction, public information centers, one-on-one stakeholder meetings with those identify themselves, and future interactions with council through this committee. You received an email last Friday notifying you that the project websites are now up and running at buildingbarrie.ca. We'll be posting updates on those throughout the projects. Recognizing the importance of transportation to the community, the transportation master plan will go above and beyond what typical master plan will do with respect to consultation. As I mentioned, the last transportation master plan completed in 2019 had the city making a shift from an auto-focused plan to a more multimodal transportation plan. We want to hear what multimodal means to different people. How do they see Barrie moving forward as a community with diverse transportation options? While these changes won't happen overnight, we want the transportation master plan to represent the long-term vision for the city. We are proposing to leverage online tools available to give people lots of chances to talk about their vision for getting around Barrie. We hope to see people at some of our larger community events by using pop-up displays and interactions. And we hope to continue to use this committee to hear council's concerns and answer your questions at future presentations. Once the master plans are complete, we have the direction for our infrastructure, but there are many steps until we achieve full build-out for the city. We use the master plans and the tools in them to make day-to-day decisions about developments, projects, and city operations. We use the master plan as a key input into future development charge bylaws to make sure charges are fair and defendable. And we use the master plans to make recommendations to council on what projects to plan and prioritize in our capital plan. By completing high-quality master plans, we'll be able to plan the critical infrastructure needed to support housing, jobs, and the community as a whole. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reeve. Are there any questions from members on the committee? Councillor Ritma.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Mr. Reeve, I think we have master plans now, right? And do they go to 2041? Is that what they're doing?
Through your Chair Hamilton to Councillor Ritma, yes, the master plans we currently have were completed in 2019 and projected growth to 2041.
Okay, so these master plans that we're considering now are going to take us from 41 to 51. Is that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We have, did the 41 master plans not service the whole city?
Through you, Chair Hamilton, Councillor Ritma, the 2019 master plans used the 2041 projection that was full build out of the city at that time. And since then, when the city now that we're moving to 51, we're basically projecting higher densities to also go to full build out, but the 2041 was a full build out scenario in 2019, but now we're going to have more density, more intensifications to meet that, to add basically 50,000 people between the 41 and 51 projections.
Okay, so that's the real sort of driver for this, is that we're expecting another 50,000 people over what we expected before.
Correct.
Okay, and that's all to do with increasing density.
Almost all of that is accommodated intensification. We had also in the updated have more intensification in the greenfield area, projecting higher densities than were done in the 2019 master plans.
Okay. And I know you're very much focused on the hard services. But are we also looking at doing master plans for sort of the quotation marks softer services? I'm thinking like Parks and Rec and those kind of things.
I don't think I can speak to that exactly what the plans are. We have, other groups that will look.
Okay, that's fair enough. Thanks.
If I can speak to that, I think the Parks and Rec master plan wasn't due till 2028, and we've actually it came to committee that we had requested that staff update that next year, if I believe, but we can follow up with the clerk on that if I'm not correct. Sorry, Deputy Mayor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair Hamilton. Ms. Cook, if maybe just to let the audience know that the section in the middle, people are a little bit confused. It's just there. The Barrie Colts under 11 will be presented, recognized, and then they'll be leaving, and then everybody can fill. It's just because they're at the very first of the agenda. Just so if we could just leave those, and then we can fill them as soon as they're recognized. No, that wasn't to you, Sharif. My question is, some of the north end have water pressure issues just, because of the way the water's, delivered. Is there anything in the plans as we grow, as you add customers, sometimes water pressure? Is there anything in the infrastructure master plans to maybe boost the pressure by bigger pumps or, as we have some of the infills and stuff? Is that part of the strategic? Thanks.
So through Chair Hamilton to Deputy Mayor Thompson, that's the kind of thing the master plans will be looking at. So we look at our existing condition models. We know, areas where we have high or low pressure in the city. And then when we add population growth, we see those areas getting worse. And then infrastructure recommendations come from that, whether that's additional booster pumps or additional supply by new wells and water towers and reservoirs and those kinds of things.
Perfect. Thank you.
I don't think you realized you're going to be so popular tonight, Mr. Reeve. You're filling the chambers with your master plans here.
Happy to see you for sure.
Are there any other questions from members on committee? No, I just have a quick one. So the longevity of the plans, considering we did one in 2019 that was projected to 2041, is it generally 5 years? Like, do you anticipate in another 5 years we'd have to?
So it really depends on what changes with outside forces. So for example, because we have now 51 projections and we have an OP that goes to 51, it requires need to update a master plan. If nothing changes, we can run with that master plan, planning till 51, collecting development charges for that and growing with that for, it doesn't have to be 5 years, it could be longer, but it really depends on what happens. If the provincial government comes up with a new growth target for us, we need to have plans to accommodate that. If nothing changes, we'll continue.
Okay, that makes sense.
The last one we finished in 2019, and the previous one we had actually done on a 5-year schedule because we'd gone from 31 to 41. So we'll see.
We'll see. I just considering it takes 2 years to complete, right? If you're doing it every 5 years, that's a bit of a quick cycle, but I understand the rationale behind it, especially since the OP goes to 2051. Yeah, I bet. Okay, any questions from members not on the committee? Seeing none. Well, thank you very much. It's interesting to see the population growing, 300,000 people by 2051. So this is really important work, and I'm excited to see over the next couple of months and 2 years, the changes that will be made from an infrastructure point of view. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 4. There are no standing items. There are no referred items. Reports of advisory committees. There are 2 advisory committee reports to be received. The first one is the report of the Active Transportation and Sustainability Advisory Committee dated May 2nd, 2024. Can I have a member of committee place the reports on the floor to be received? Deputy Mayor Thompson, thank you. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of council in attendance? All in favor? And it's carried. The second report is a report of the Communities in Bloom Committee dated on May 7th, 2024. Can I have a member of committee place reports on the floor to be received? Deputy Mayor Thompson, thank you. Are there any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of council in attendance? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All of those in favor, and it is carried. There are no further reports this evening. There are no items for discussion, so I will adjourn the meeting. It is